Hi, I'm Sarah Sumpter here with Mr. Kevin Kennedy.
Well, it's good to see you tonight, Sarah. And for those who didn't know, Sarah's my legal assistant, has been for some time. And what do you got in store tonight, Sarah?
Well, I had a few legal questions I wanted to ask
Okay,
you.
fire away. But you know, a great student is a person who has a lot of questions.
Yes, sure.
Some of the greatest legal minds were always inquisitive. And they used to say about me, Kevin asked more questions than any lawyer I've ever seen until my brother Bruce came along. And that's one of my techniques. And Bruce asked, because I used to go around to the real smart lawyer, and then I ask that question, I ask the same question. Then I go, and then because you get different answers.
Right.
I'm not ready to go in front of the court where I got three different opinions on this side. I got to get us in consensus, then I'll move.
Right. So when you're in a trial, are there different kinds of witnesses you can call?
Oh,
or
yeah.
is there...
Oh, yeah, tell it. Here's the real world. You know, they used to have an old saying, these people, they said, well, I'm going to take you to court. Now, what are you going to do? And he said, well, I'll get a $2 lawyer and a $50 witness. And they laugh about that. But the truth is, what they talk about is that the expert witnesses, you have to pay them.
Yes.
So every time you get a doctor, let's say we're in a car wreck, the doctor's got to come in and give their testimony. Doctors are exempt from making them come to court. So you have to take their deposition. What does that mean? Well, the doctors require payment to give their time to sit and talk because they take on liability and they've got a break from their schedule. Yes. So you have to pay the doctor, and he'll sit down and answer your questions. He'll give a brief history. And that's another thing. Every time you go to the doctor, everything you say, they're putting in the notes.
Yes.
And so they could come back to use you because they're going to subpoena your records. They're going to say, was this reasonable? Or they didn't complain about this neck till later down in their treatment. So they're going to dissect it from A to Z because they're really the best. And that's an expert witness. And if we were involved in a crash, you'd hire an expert and say, and of course their fees could be up there. They could have a $10,000, $20,000 fee, fly in, pay all our expenses. And so somebody has to pay that. And they're considered experts. So you have to qualify them before they can start giving their opinion. Now, everybody's got their opinion, and we'll hear them arguing. I'd put you up there, and I said, well, how far was it from here to here, Sarah? And Sarah would start, and then the lawyer would say, objection. You haven't qualified her as any expert. And then there's an argument ensues. And, of course, we would try to say, you don't have to have an expert opinion to guess 20 feet, 20 yards. I think that every normal person. Yeah. And the judge can say, no, I agree with you, Mr. Kennedy, or I disagree with you. And then I would do a fallback position. And I'm always prepared for either way. And some lawyers, everything you ask, objection, irrelevant, objection. This goes beyond the scope. Objection. He's leading. Well, I submit to you in my jury trial experience, that guy's miscalculating. Use your best judgment. Use your motion in limine to try to keep some bad records out or get some bad records in. And that's where we go over and learn your history. So one is just a direct eyewitness. It's still one of the best. You put up there, did you see the accident? Yes, I saw the truck weave over into her lane and caused her to go off. Was there anything that she could have done from your perspective that could have, objection that calls for an opinion? Your Honor, we argue that does not call for an expert. And here we go. And so, and then, there's all kinds of evidence. You could go up to the scene on one and they're about to die and they say, they ran the red light. Well, is that hearsay? And so I want to stop right here. Hearsay is hearsay. There's about 100 exceptions to hearsay. There's exceptions to the exception. And that was one of my fortes. And it's still very complex. It's hard for us to present that argument and then make it rational. So it's lay testimony and expert testimony. Bring the witnesses. And then they'll a lot of times say, well, Kevin, you brought 5 witnesses in here and you've already established that, so we'll just stipulate that's what happened. So sometimes you have to bring more evidence in to establish that. But we've used it. Are we connecting with the jury? Are the jury, do they like to hear that? Or is it so boring they've lost touch?
Hi, Sarah Sumpter here along with Mr. Kevin Kennedy. I hear you say a lot of quotes around the office.
Yes.
And one of my favorite ones that you say quite often is go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated.
It is so true, Sarah. And the truth is, everybody has a place where some people really do celebrate when you come and they cherish you, they welcome you, they love you, they care about you. And that's really the Kennedy Law Firm. And so, should you find yourself in need of help, call us. That's 931 645 9900.
So, what kind of evidence can you bring to a trial?
Well, we love witnesses.
Uh-huh.
We always love it. Everybody loves a witness. Keeps it going. Even the judge, when he's here, he wants to hear what the witness saw. Eyewitnesses are great. And then if they said, well, I heard this, objection.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I heard that. No, you can't tell us what you heard from someone. You can tell us what you saw. And so there's a lot of little avenues that we argue backwards and forwards. And sometimes I'm on thin ice where lawyers say, you're about to sink because that argument won't fly. What other evidence can we bring in? Documentary evidence. And just for instance, if we got those phone records, yeah, what would we find if we subpoenaed your phone records at 3 a.m. the day that you had that car wreck? Were you texting because there's times and phone calls? Is it hard to get around? But they're going to have to bring the custodian of the records. And so, the lawyers are going to attack all that. And you can say, well, I was ordering a pizza at Domino's, but you can't be on the phone. So those are delicate things. Documentary, handwritten things. If you kept notes in the regular course of your business, that's a business record exception, and it can come in. And there's all kinds, and we just argue like crazy. That is not a business record. That is merely something that she wrote, and we are fighting over every piece. Now, I want to say this. I'll take a diversion, Sarah. I have seen at least 5 times in my career where a piece of paper saved a person's life.
Wow.
Say it again.
Wow.
Wow. So we're almost brainwashed to keep all these little pieces of paper. And then those people that just throw everything away, throw it away, well, they'll say, well, do you have a receipt? You're going to say, well, I was at Red Lobster and had dinner. Do you have a receipt? Because what that documentation does, it bolsters. Okay? So how could you have witnessed that when you just had your nails done? Where are you getting your nails done? And then they've got you with your credit card or they've got you on a camera at the mall. Do you hear me?
I hear you.
And so you're going to say, well, I was by myself at the gas station, and they go back and check the gas station, and you weren't by yourself. So all of a sudden, Sarah, then that credibility goes. And there's an old saying, I say it in the closing arguments lots of times. Falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus. Latin. Means if you lie about one thing, we can't believe you about anything.
Sure.
Everybody hates a liar. Everybody has a sense of justice and fairness. And what would an average person do under those circumstances? We put ourselves there. So I like documentation. I like witnesses. I like preparation. But remember, the lawyer can't do it all. He's got to have your assistance. So when the client and the lawyer, and I have to have a team, when you come along, and if I was out or whatever, you could pick that up for me as an assistant, and the paralegals can put that together, then we're so much more effective. They say, well, how good are you? You never know till you're in. How good can you swim? You never know till you're put in the ocean. But I submit to you that with your training, your preparation, your perseverance, you will be better than what you ever thought you would be.
True. Very true. What can you tell me about cross-examination?
Well, I'll say this. From the law school, they said you never can cross-examine a person. They cannot say the same lie twice.
Wow.
I heard that. So meaning that's why you keep asking questions. Now, anybody can get up and read a statement. My name is Kevin Kennedy, and I graduated at the National School of Law. And, well, hello, come in. That's a great thing. But can you withstand? Are you the same Kevin Kennedy that was from Clarksville, Tennessee? Are you the same that did this and did this? Cross-examination flushes out that character. So all we really have is character. So teach your family. It's important. Your life is truly an open book. And if you've been a good person and it goes back to that scripture, you're going to reap what you sow. I have people say, well, the lawyers say what goes around comes around. That's true, but the Christians said it far beyond that. And then people say, karma, it's going to come back around. I said, wait a minute. The Christian said you're going to reap what you sow, and you believe that.
I do.
And do you believe to the extent you want to live by that principle?
I do.
And, I like to say it too. So if we've lived a life of generosity, mercy, kindness, then don't worry. In our life, when we need it, we're going to reap that. I do believe that. And so when I try to make those preparations for the evidence, I take all those character things. It's one part of the formula. Bolster it with my legal skill of what I think and know we'll get through. Dance on the ice on the gray areas. And you can make an argument. Lawyers are supposed to make arguments that are substantiated under the law. That gets into a gray area sometimes. They say, well, that doesn't even make sense. But that's how we make new laws, Sarah. Mm-hmm. That's how cases get turned around. For years, this was done and it was wrong. And then some lawyer comes along and they change the law because this is right.
Wow.
And I love the closing arguments. That was where I always, and you know where I got my training for the closing arguments?
Where?
I got it from the church.
Wow.
I got it from Sunday school and vacation Bible school. And they gave me little leadership roles. And it definitely gave me advantage when I was in the law school, and it built my confidence. Yeah. In fact, I'll tell you one thing that you didn't know, Sarah. I was at Austin Peay, and I was 18 and didn't know what I was going to do with life. And I said, well, Kevin, I don't know that you're ready for a doctor because I didn't have the preparation. Mm-hmm. But I said, Kevin, you're a good speaker, and you're a good talker, and let's go. And so I don't think I could have picked anything that I was better suited for than that. And the closing argument, my graduating class at the law school gave me a standing ovation when I did my closing argument. And the judge, I pushed him to the limits. And you always have to push him to the limits if you're going to really make a difference. And I thought he could either go way off on me. And he said, Mr. Kennedy, you were almost evangelical. And I thought that was so funny that he said even because he really didn't know me. He was a judge that had come in to hear the trial. In your closing argument. Of course, he could have went off and said, don't you know the difference in a circus and a courtroom? You're going too far, Mr. Kennedy. And, your law school students are so critical, they could have just said, what are you thinking about? And it was there that I recognized that I could make a difference in the closing argument, whether it's been the civil cases, the criminal cases. And what is it? It's just where we summarize everything. And we go back over the evidence. We'd say, now let's talk about the witnesses. You remember, Sarah, and if you've been a great witness, I'm coming home. I'm coming home with it. And I like to use analogies. The greatest teacher of all time was Jesus. You know why he was so good? Because he would talk about the farmer sowing seed. And so that's been part of my techniques over the years. In fact, one of my greatest publications was in the American Journal of Trial Advocacy. And they published me. And somebody said, well, golly, how did... And they were even liking what I had shared. And somebody said, what was your secret? Everybody wants to, what is your secret? And it's really no secret. I was giving them some Bible verses, the truth that the Bible was talking about. And I will pursue that till I meet him. And I would teach you. Be a person of your word.
Yes.
Be a person of integrity. I don't know when it'll ever be called in, but it'll make a difference whether we're in the civil arena and help it. You teach it, you preach it, you believe it, you live by it.
Amen.
Hi, Bruce Kennedy here with the Kennedy Law Firm and my brother, Kevin. And Kevin, when I think of these personal injury cases, I think of the responsibility to be dedicated and diligent. Abraham Lincoln even said one of his key principles was he operated by diligence.
Yeah, the truth is, Bruce, preparation, work, hit them again. If they turn us down, we hit them again. That'll be the secret to our success. 931-645-9900.
All right, I got another question for you.
All right, you are loaded with questions today, but I do love your questions, and you're doing great because everybody really wants to hear some of this. So you need time to learn. Go.
So, what is a jury verdict, and what does it really mean?
Okay, jury verdict. We're all sitting around. We've made our closing arguments. The judge reads the charge. The jury is sent out. We have our own private courtroom, and it's got a jury room where they go back and they deliberate, and they say, Is it worth $1 million? We're going to find them guilty where they're going to have to pay this money. And they argue. Nobody has control over the time. And as a general rule, the longer a jury goes, it's less likely that they're going to come back with a verdict. You can hang the jury. You need 12 in agreement. If somebody just draws down on you, well, that's it. We've spent all the money. We've done all this. And so then we might go ahead and settle. They make the verdict. We get a big, big judgment. Hello, come in. That's great for everybody except the insurance company.
Yes.
And then what they'll do, they'll appeal. And then they say, we're appealing this on all these grounds. It didn't work. And then we say, okay. But they say, oh, guess what? We will offer you a $950,000 right now and stop all appeals. So you're going back. We won $1 million. They're going to offer $950,000 and stop the appeals, and it's over with. And so then you're sitting there and you're going to make your best decision. Of course, we could go. We might get more, might get less. We could get it over with. You call the shots. That's the jury verdict.
What can you tell me about judgment?
Well, then once the court has ruled that the jury verdict's in, it renders the judgment. And it kind of reminds, when you said judgment, everybody's going to have to face judgment. You're going to face judgment in this world. You're going to face it in the next. There's always going to be consequences to your actions. Mm-hmm. And we have to hold people responsible. If they went out here and ruined a family, they need to be held responsible. Yes. If they took the livelihood of children, they need to be held responsible. And why? It goes back to all these laws are just based on kind of biblical laws, which came out of England. It's called the common law. One state, the United States, doesn't base it on English law, and that's Louisiana. Wow. And they base it on Napoleonic laws, which is French. Interesting, isn't it?
It is.
So you learn a little history. Why is history important? Because we have to know where we've been, to know who we are, to know where we're going. They say history repeats itself, and some of the things that I've learned studying when I was, I have a master's in history. I love to study those brilliant men, those techniques. You might say, well, I just thought of something. Well, guess what, Sarah? Einstein thought of that years ago. You weren't the first. And guess what, Sarah? Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Edison already thought. But what you can do, you can add on their arguments. The Napoleon Hills, they were great men. And even now, one of my techniques, nobody else ever does this. And when I get up in the morning, I'm listening to all kinds of success men. I listen to their formulas. I have done it for years. Taught my kids. It's kind of funny. They resist. They didn't want it. And then, of course, Casey and Kenny ultimately became doctors. And it was all good. And Rhonda resisted, and she ultimately became Tennessee Principal of the Year. Those formulas will make a difference in my life and yours.
A little bit of motivation goes a long way.
Goes a real long way. And what else they say about motivation? You say, well, man, I used to could get this done. This, it's like Zig Ziglar said, it's kind of like bathing. You still need to do it more often. Yeah, get some motivation going.
Okay, what can you tell me about conduct of jurors?
All right, that's a good one. If there's a little misconduct, then somebody's going to say, that's jury tampering. I was in a big federal trial, and this is another, even the lawyers, they give you all these books. This is how you're supposed to act. Wow. Okay. If you're not there, we were in a different federal jurisdiction. I've been there, so you haven't met these people. And we went to lunch. I had a team of lawyers with me, and this U.S. attorney that was fighting us on the other side, he came down in the lunchroom and was standing like this, looking. And I told the lawyers with me, I said, don't look to anybody. Don't speak to anybody. They say it's jury tampering. If a lady dropped her handkerchief and you were to pick it up, you're not supposed to do anything for them. Hello, isn't that strange? So what did I do? I told my lawyers, I said, y'all eat fast and we're going out of here. And he was almost like the lunchroom monitor. But if somebody were to try to pass a note to a juror or pass a newspaper, that's jury tampering. And then you have to call a mistrial. Ooh. So, conduct to jurors, they got to do what the judge says when he says it. Sequestration of a jury, that means this case is so heavy, we're not going to let them go home and talk to their spouse, watch TV. They're locked down. Mm. And even jurors, even at the lunch, you're not supposed to talk about the evidence until actually we get to the deliberate. And, some people, they let them go to lunch, and then they say, well, I want to go out here to Whitfield Road and look where the accident happened. So they're doing their own investigation. You can't do that.
Wow.
You can only do what was entered into the court.
Wow.
Good.
So what happens if illegally obtained evidence is presented?
Why are you thinking about the illegal evidence? You got something up your sleeve there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. As a general rule, remember I've said there's exceptions to everything. Do you believe that?
I do.
And, you can argue. So as a general rule, no, you have a right of privacy. If somebody came in and put a tape and two were talking together, there's a right of privacy and it could be considered illegal wiretap. Well, they got something that's real bad, that's real damaging in this case. You already know this lawyer's going to say, that is illegal evidence. It is inadmissible. And then the other side's going to say, no, Judge, we disagree. It was not illegally obtained. It was this, it was that, and then it causes more. We might even have a little hearing as to how this evidence was obtained. And the judge is going to call it, I'll let it in, I won't let it in.
Wow.
Isn't that something? And then that's a ground for appeal that we could argue from now on. So I don't ever want anyone to try to get illegally obtained evidence. It's dangerous and get you in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do it. We're going to play by the rules. It's good advice.
So what does it mean when you're held in contempt of court?
Well, contempt. Have you ever almost been held in contempt?
I
don't think so either. The truth is we're going to do what the judge says. Now, the judge can get irritated with lawyers. He says 9 o'clock. What does he mean?
9 o'clock.
And if he says you're going to be in here an hour, what does he mean?
Be in here an hour.
And they don't play games. And especially these bigger courts,
Mm-hmm.
they are really dead serious on the time frame. And so if you didn't do exactly what they said, they could consider your behavior contemptuous and they could hold you in contempt. They can fine you and they can jail you.
Wow.
So if you wanted to argue with the court, they can give you, most would give you an admonishment. They don't have to. They can just say, and I've seen it. I've been in the heat of battle when the judge says, you're sanctioned. You're in contempt of court. You're going to have to do this before you leave the courtroom. And they're just like you and I and everybody else. Everybody has their limits. So I teach and preach, and we tell you and your family, we're not going to push them. Don't push anybody. Let's work within the bounds of the law, because in the long run, that's what will make a difference for us. And if people are hot-headed, and then the lawyer is going to try to push their buttons.
Yes.
And then everybody knows what we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Good question.
And you said sanctioned. What does that mean?
Well, that means sanction. The judge can say, I'm going to give you a $10 fine and costs. I'm going to fine you $100. You can fine $500. They can do. How about bailiff? And this, I had this happen. So I was representing some really sophisticated people. The other side was representing sophisticated people. And so the judge stopped the trial. He said, bailiff, we're all stunned. What's going on? And he said, take this man and this woman to the jail and walk them around and then bring them back up here. Well, I'd never had that happen. And so he said, now, if you don't conduct yourselves as you're supposed to, that's where I'm going to send you.
Wow.
So we were all very, very particular from that on. We got through the trial, and that was it.
Wow.
Now, can the judge say, well, and I don't want to ever say that they're unreasonable, have I been in court till 12 o'clock at night? Yes.
Sure.
Have they ordered us to be back in the courtroom at 8 on a weekend? Absolutely. So you say, wait a minute, I had a trip planned. I'm supposed to be gone.
Not anymore.
Hello, come in. So when you get that, you got to be prepared to do whatever. That's one of the things about being a lawyer. You're an officer of the court. You're held to a higher standard. And so, and
your
the judge,
time is not really your time.
your time is not. So what do you do? If we were supposed to fly out on a European trip and the tickets are already paid and the judge says you will be here at 8 o'clock Monday and the trial we thought would be a 2-day trial and now it's carried, you got to be there. So does anybody reimburse you? No. So that's just the way it is. That's part of it. I'm Kevin Kennedy with the Kennedy Law Firm. You know, it's said that 2 are better than 1 and 3-fold cord is not easily broken. I spent my life trying to build a team because a team really carries the success. It makes a lot of sense. Some of the wisest and smartest people I've ever known in the legal profession put the team together and worked it. I'm Kevin Kennedy. If you need our help, call us, the Kennedy Law Firm.
So if I've heard about your internship program. I've never got to experience it because this year we were robbed.
Yeah,
from
the corona. Hello, come
But
in.
we're crossing our fingers we'll be able to have it next year so
Yeah.
I can be a part of it because I've heard nothing but great things about it. And I'm
Yeah.
really excited to be a part of it.
You know, it is so good. I love to share about the interns. They bring enthusiasm. We get a lot of things done with and so every year about May, we take young students. They come from law schools and college and some high schoolers. And the judges come in and they talk to them and they teach them about their story. You know, all the judges and lawyers, that everybody has a story. How did they get there? And what can they do to make a difference in other people's lives? So, but it's exciting when you got all these young, brilliant minds and you can't stop them. They can't stop you, Sarah. You'll just keep on going, take what you learn and just keep going to the top. We love the internship program. We actually do a car wash. All the money is donated. And I'll never forget this. The guy said, golly, Mr. Kenny, you just spent $300 on car wash, soap, and towels. Why didn't you just give that? And here's my response to that, Sarah. It's good. And I think the Lord showed me. It said, you know, I was able to teach 50 young people how to do it. And so the money they raised, it all went to help people that they didn't even know. And we gave it to a Christian camp. And some young kids got to go to camp that otherwise couldn't do it because we put together a legal internship program. It's been a blessing. You know, you can't outgive God. The more you give, the more you receive. And I'm excited to see what you're going to get done in your life. Those interns, they're going to be some senators and judges and lawyers. And, you know, it's been said, you can't help somebody without helping yourself.
True.
And so I'm so proud. You know, one of the interns, many became lawyers and some became doctors. And all my family went through it. If I had some more, if I'm around, my grandchildren will go through it. If you had some, we're going to put your family through it. Because it makes a difference. It not only makes a difference in their life, but it makes a difference in our community.
It does.
Hi, I'm Kevin Kennedy, along with my brother Bruce Kennedy. We're at the Kennedy Law Firm. One of my favorite people, Benjamin Franklin, once said, an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. How does that apply to personal injury cases? Well, you know, Kevin, when people have been injured in an automobile accident, they have no experience in how to resolve it. It's important that they come to people with experience who can help them rather than working with organizations who have more experience that would take advantage. Call the Kennedy Law Firm, 931-645-9900.
So, Kevin, here at your Fort Campbell office, you have a courtroom, a
Yes.
private courtroom, and it's called the Court of Creativity.
Yes.
So why did you do that?
I know. When I think about the Court of Creativity, it was one of my little brainchild. We were watching that O.J. Simpson trial, and I said, wow, you know, got the opportunity to get this building. It can seat in the auditorium 500.
Wow.
And we've had conferences and speakers, and we've allowed preachers and whatnot to use it. But it's also been a great staging place for the Court of Creativity. So we put on mock trials. Originally, this is kind of like some of the great ideas that come through life. You start and say, this is what we can do. We can try these cases, teach our lawyers, put our clients, go through the witnesses. We can offer something that has never been offered before that I'm really aware of in local. It was Tennessee's largest private courtroom. There may be a school now that may have something that would hold that many. But then the college said, well, Kevin, can we use your courtroom? And I said, sure. And the teen court came through and judges said, can we use your courtroom? I said, sure. I've always wanted to have this place where it could be used. Mm-hmm. It was a gift to me and I'd like to share. I always have. And I love giving that. If I had life to do again, I would just wish I could have done more.
All right. Well, I think it's about that time we wrap the show up. Where has the time gone?
It's gone by quick.
But it's been great sitting here working with you, asking you all these questions. I've learned a lot. I know these people sitting at home watching have learned a lot as well. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Well, you know, I said one of the greatest things is if you know something, you want to share it. One of the great coaches said, learn your craft well and then give it away for the rest of your life. Boy, was he right. So I've enjoyed sharing this. Thank you, Sarah. You're always a great team member and a team player, and I appreciate all that you do to try to keep things going. And we're glad that we could share with you tonight. I hope that you'll learn something, take some notes, share it with your family. It will be beneficial, and I've said earlier, it'll be generational. Well, I'm Kevin Kennedy along with Sarah Sumpter, and we're glad we've been with you tonight. God bless you.